Evergrande, a name once synonymous with success in China's booming real estate market. A company that built skyscrapers, entire cities, football teams, and dreams. But in 2021, that dream unraveled. What was once China's second-largest property developer collapsed under the weight of its own lies and a mountain of $300 billion in debt. This is the story of how Evergrande rose, how it faked its success, and how its fall shook the foundations of the world's second-largest economy. It all began in the mid-1990s. Xu Jiayin, a steel factory worker turned entrepreneur, founded Evergrande in 1996. At the time, China's urbanization was exploding. The middle class was growing. Cities were expanding at an unbelievable pace. Real estate was gold, and Evergrande was hungry. It bought land in bulk. It borrowed heavily. It promised apartments before they were even built, and people believed. Evergrande wasn't just building homes, it was building hope. By 2010, it was a giant. Listed on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, its valuation soared. Xu Jiayin became one of China's richest men. The company began diversifying aggressively. They launched an electric vehicle division with no working cars. They bought a bottled water company, a theme park, a life insurance firm, a soccer club. If there was money to be made, Evergrande wanted in. But behind the glossy image, the cracks were already forming. Evergrande's model was simple and dangerous. It borrowed billions, sold properties before they were finished, used that cash to buy more land, and then repeated the cycle. This is called the pre-sale model, and in China it was standard practice. At one point, over 1.5 million Chinese families were waiting for homes Evergrande promised them, homes that hadn't even been built yet. The company was spinning plates, and the moment one fell, the rest would come crashing down. In 2020, Beijing introduced the 3 red lines policy, a set of debt ratio rules designed to stop reckless borrowing by property developers. For Evergrande, it was a death sentence. Suddenly, the company couldn't borrow like before. But it still had massive liabilities, hundreds of unfinished projects, and angry homebuyers demanding answers. Desperate, Evergrande started selling off assets. They discounted properties. They offered apartments as payment to suppliers. They begged local governments for help. None of it was enough. In late 2021, the company missed bond payments. Foreign investors panicked. Credit rating agencies declared Evergrande in default. What followed was chaos. Protests erupted across China. Furious investors, many of them ordinary citizens, demanded refunds. Construction sites were abandoned. Thousands of employees lost their jobs. Suppliers went unpaid. But the real danger wasn't just Evergrande, it was the domino effect. You see, Evergrande owed money to over 170 banks and 120 financial institutions. Its collapse sent shockwaves through China's financial system. Property prices dropped. Confidence evaporated. Other developers like Kaisa and Sunak began to show signs of distress. China's housing market, which makes up nearly 30% of the country's GDP, was suddenly on shaky ground. And this wasn't just a Chinese problem. Global investors had billions tied to Evergrande bonds. Hedge funds in New York, banks in London, pension funds in Europe. Everyone believed Evergrande was too big to fail. They were wrong. In a move that shocked the world, Beijing refused to bail Evergrande out. Why? Because propping it up would signal to other debt-ridden firms that reckless behavior was tolerable. So the Chinese Communist Party let it bleed, slowly. But they had to tread carefully. A full collapse could trigger a financial meltdown, not just in China, but globally. So instead, regulators stepped in quietly. Local governments were tasked with handling unfinished buildings. Some projects were taken over. Some investors were paid in installments, or not at all. Xu Jiayin, once celebrated as a national business icon, was placed under surveillance. His wealth vanished. His empire crumbled. And yet, the ruins of Evergrande are still smoldering. As of 2024, many of its buildings stand half-finished. Ghost cities, empty concrete shells, monuments to unchecked greed. China's entire real estate sector remains volatile, and international investors are watching nervously. The truth is, Evergrande wasn't just a company. It was a symbol of China's economic boom, and the illusion that growth can be infinite. Its rise was built on cheap credit, hype, and the blind belief that the property market could never fall. But markets do fall. And when giants fall, they don't fall quietly. Evergrande's implosion wiped out fortunes, shattered trust, and exposed the fragile underbelly of one of the world's most powerful economies. It was China's Lehman Brothers moment. And while regulators have tried to contain the damage, the aftershocks continue. In boardrooms, in banking systems, and in the minds of millions who once believed the real estate dream. In the end, Evergrande didn't just build skyscrapers, it built a $300 billion illusion. And when that illusion shattered, the world finally saw what was underneath. A system addicted to debt, a market built on speculation, and a future far more uncertain than anyone had dared to admit. Because when the foundation is built on lies, the collapse is inevitable. If you found this story eye-opening, there are more just like it. At Crooked Stories, we expose the darkest financial secrets, the biggest scams, and the truths the elites don't want you to know. Subscribe now, and never look at money the same way again.